Welcome back. You're watching World News and I'm your host, Klaudia Czerwińska. The reopening of Polish-Belarusian border crossing might take place mid-November, Warsaw said on Thursday. Earlier, Lithuanian Prime Minister Inga Ruginienė said her Polish counterpart Donald Tusk to postpone reopening the border with Belarus.
Yesterday, I spoke to the Polish Prime Minister on the phone. We had a very detailed, in-depth conversation, and we decided that the Polish Prime Minister will delay the reopening of the borders with Belarus and will coordinate further actions together. The border crossings will remain closed for the moment in both Poland and Lithuania. We already have the first reactions from Belarus, and I very much hope that there will be more of those reactions. An understanding that we will not tolerate any hybrid attacks and that we will do everything we can to respond to the threats and ensure the security of our citizens.
Zaporizhzhia, home to Europe's largest nuclear power plant, was heavily shelled by Russian drones and missiles overnight into Thursday. As Moscow continues waging its war of terror against Kyiv, killing and wounding civilians, experts warn Russian aggression could soon escalate beyond Ukraine's borders.
In the southeastern Ukrainian city of Zaporizhzhia, Thursday night was disturbed by violent Russian attacks. At least 13 people were wounded and a residential building was destroyed.
I read online that ballistic missiles had been launched from Crimea, and I realized they were heading our way. There were 4 explosions, and then the 5th missile struck right here. I held my child close. Within seconds, the power went out, dust in the air, and children started crying. I was terrified. It was truly frightening. Some people are still trapped under the rubble. My neighbors lost their apartment.
Zaporizhzhia is where Europe's largest nuclear power plant is located, but the facility is under Russian control. Just a day before Moscow launched overnight attacks on the area, the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency warned that maintaining peace in the vicinity of the plant is crucial.
The situation continues to be very, very serious. And the fact, as I was saying earlier, that we needed to mediate between the two sides to obtain a silence or a deconflicting or a truce.
But to many Ukrainians, peace seems like a distant dream.
Only if we return to our country's pre-war borders, we can say that we have a chance of living in peace.
Until then, residents of Kyiv are forced to seek shelter in the city's metro system.
Of course it's cold here. Of course I'd rather be at home.
But instead of getting closer to peace, experts warn Russian aggression could accelerate and soon reach beyond Ukraine's borders, towards Estonia and Latvia. But instead of getting closer to peace, experts warn Putin's aggression could accelerate and soon reach beyond Ukraine's borders.
He doesn't believe NATO will invoke Article 5, and I strongly believe that within the next few months, he'll try to test Article 5 by doing some sort of small incursion.
As Russia launched strikes on Ukraine overnight, Poland scrambled its jets to secure its own airspace. The airports in Radom and Lublin have also been temporarily closed to ensure that military aviation operations proceed without interference.
These measures are preventative in nature and are aimed at securing and protecting Polish airspace, especially in areas adjacent to regions of Ukraine currently under attack.
At least 2 people were killed and dozens wounded across Ukraine in the overnight attacks. The strikes also damaged energy infrastructure, causing power outages across the affected regions.
Nearly 100,000 Ukrainian men of fighting age have left the country in the past 2 months, following President Volodymyr Zelensky's decision to ease travel restrictions for those under 23, according to new data from Poland's border guard. Since the rule change in late August, 99,000 men aged 18 to 22 have crossed into Poland, more than double the number recorded earlier this year. The policy, intended to encourage voluntary enlistment and stop families from sending teenagers abroad, has instead triggered a surge in young Ukrainians heading to Europe. In Germany, arrivals in this age group have risen sharply, with over 1,000 entering weekly. Western officials fear the exodus could deepen Ukraine's manpower crisis, as the war with Russia will soon enter its 4th year and casualties continue to mount on the front lines. Although Ukraine wasn't a key topic in Donald Trump's talks with Xi Jinping, Europe, including Ukraine, may still benefit. Tomasz Obremski from the Warsaw Security Forum told TVP World that the US-China deal could indirectly support the region. While no progress was made on Ukraine peace efforts, Trump announced a 10-point tariff cut on Chinese goods in exchange for China curbing fentanyl-related chemicals and pausing rare earth export restrictions for a year.
It is some kind of a relief for the entire world, including Europe. And this we can connect somehow to the war in Ukraine, because Europe right now stocks up ammunition, spends more on the defense. And, you know, you cannot buy tanks, missiles or fighter jets without those rare elements. Right. So this was a very high-stake meeting to see some tensions go down. So we can continue our high defense spending on the 5%, because 5% with this Chinese ban, it will be effectively impossible. But Ukraine itself was not on the top of the agenda. Both countries are involved in these countries in one way or another. They are not, but I think for China it's good to keep this conflict ongoing as the way it is in the status quo, because it weakens Europe, it makes it more dependent on China. It makes Russia more dependent on China, but from European side, we definitely would not like this conflict to be full-scale proxy war between the United States and China.
Russia's Lukoil announced on Thursday it had accepted an offer from the Gunvor trading house to sell its foreign assets. The decision to sell came Monday after the United States announced sanctions on two Russian petrochemical giants, Lukoil and Rosneft. According to a statement from the company, Lukoil accepted Gunvor's offer and agreed not to negotiate with other potential buyers. Gunvor, registered in Cyprus with headquarters in Switzerland, has previously confirmed it was in talks with the Russian company about the possible acquisition of its foreign assets. Neither of the companies, however, shared any details regarding the sale. Five new suspects have been arrested over the Louvre robbery, according to the public prosecutor in Paris. The men were arrested Wednesday night in the Paris area. One of the detainees is considered to be the main suspect in the case. The robbery saw 88 million euros worth of items stolen from the world's most visited museum. Four thieves broke into the tourist hotspot in broad daylight. The thieves dropped the crown of Empress Eugenie during the heist, but the rest of the stolen jewels have not been recovered yet. Although the estimated financial loss is crushing, the historical and cultural value of the stolen items is what devastated the French public. The Dutch have voted, and the result could reshape the political landscape in the Netherlands. After one of the tightest elections in years, the centrist Democrat 66 are tied with Geert Wilders' Party for Freedom, setting the stage for complex coalition talks and a possible generational shift in Dutch leadership.
In the Netherlands, dawn broke with cheers for the centrists and disappointment for the populists. With nearly all votes counted, Rob Jetten's Democrat 66 emerged narrowly ahead of the Geert Wilders Party for Freedom, both claiming 26 seats in the 150-member parliament. But the 66's symbolic lead of just over 2,000 votes may define the next coalition and a generational shift in Dutch politics. For Geert Wilders, the man who once brought down his own government over migration, the result feels like a setback, but not a defeat.
I would have preferred a different result. We're still the second and perhaps even the largest party. We'll have to wait and see. It's a neck-and-neck race now with D66 to see who will emerge as the victor. We haven't seen a definitive result yet, but I would have preferred to see 30 or more seats, of course.
At D66 headquarters, optimism filled the air. The 38-year-old Rob Jetten framed his win as a break from division and a promise of cooperation.
What I personally noticed during the campaign was that our positive message resonated with many Dutch people. How can we say goodbye to the Wilders era and truly seek cooperation again to move the country forward? It's not only a fantastic result for D66, but also for several other parties that have also embraced this politics of hope and connection.
But not everyone felt victorious as the result poured in. Franz Timmermans announced his resignation after his Green Left Labour alliance underperformed.
It's also clear that for whatever reason, I haven't been able to convince enough people to vote for us. So it's time for me to step back and hand over the leadership of our movement to the next generation.
In The Hague, voters said the result marks a new chapter.
I think it's a great change for the Netherlands. Finally, there's a progressive, constructive party that's in the lead, and other parties as well.
My mood is fantastic. I'm very excited that we're going to have the first homosexual Prime Minister of the Netherlands, and also one that is combining all the positive forces.
No, it's fantastic. It's an unexpected victory at this scale, and I think it's a vindication for progressives all over Europe.
Coalition talks will take months, but the message from the voters seems clear: a turn away from the politics of protest toward the politics of possibility. A narrow victory and perhaps a new direction for the Netherlands.
Hurricane Melissa has killed 30 people across the Caribbean. The storm is one of the strongest hurricanes on record in the Atlantic. After battering Jamaica, Cuba and Haiti this weekend, and it's now moving towards Bermuda.
Hurricane Melissa has left destruction and misery in its path. The aerial images best show the scope of the devastation. It was a Category 5 hurricane, the highest possible classification.
At the moment, I'm trying to clean up to see what can be salvaged, and then we'll see what happens.
It's not easy to lose everything you have, with the little you have.
Everything happened quick. The floodwaters rose in mere minutes.
At one stage, I see the water at my waist, and about 10 minutes time, I see it around my neck here, and I make my escape.
It's the worst hurricane to ever hit Jamaica, where property and infrastructure damage is catastrophic.
I don't think there's any single soul on this island was not affected by Hurricane Melissa, whether it was their roofs being blown out or their gardens.
77% of the country is without electricity. There is work that's going to be done to bring that up as quickly as we can, but that is a large number.
The area where Hurricane Melissa struck is considered the breadbasket of the Caribbean. That's why the region is now facing a looming food security crisis, on top of all other issues brought about by the storm.
And so this would be all for now. I'm Claudia Czerwińska. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you back here on TVP World for more.